Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello students. So now we are on to plastics. Students, you must have heard about plastics a lot many times. You have hundreds of objects made up of plastic around you. For example, you have a pen, you have a table, you have a chair. You have other things which are made up of plastic such as buckets, mugs, right? So plastics are very useful to us, right? You can see there are different objects in front of you such as chair, bucket, toys, containers. All of these have different kinds of plastics in them, right? Now, obviously they are so useful. We must know about them. We must know where do they come from, how we synthesize them, what are the uses, and how do we dispose them of, obviously. So students, let us start with the features of plastic. First of all, plastic is also a polymer. We studied about this kind of structure in the case of synthetic fibers as well, right? In the case of polyester, where there were multiple molecules of esters linked together forming a longer chain, right? So, plastic is also a polymer like synthetic fiber. Type of arrangement of units is of two kinds. There is two kind of arrangement in the units. The first one is linear and the second one is cross-linked. This is the part, this is the first part of the picture, which is part A, shows us the linear arrangement of the polymer molecules, right? Of the molecules of the units in one polymer. This is the arrangement of units in one polymer, which is a linear polymer, right? Now the second kind of arrangement is cross-linked arrangements. In this case, in the part B, you see another kind of arrangement in which there is a cross linkage, right? It is not only linear, the upper bonds are also present, which make them form a network, right? This is even more efficient packing of molecules in the case of cross-linked arrangements. This arrangement makes these plastics differ in properties. Obviously, the arrangement will matter when we talk about properties. So, let us see what are other features. They are available in all possible shapes and sizes. How can you say that? Basically, you have a smaller chair, you have a bigger chair. You can mold plastic into any form, right? You have different objects made up of plastic only because of its certain features which help us to produce more and more articles which are useful to us, right? Plastic is easily moldable, which is that it can be shaped in any form. You have seen hundreds of objects of plastic. For example, this pen is also made up of plastic. It has a unique shape, right? Now there is a screen in front of me, there is a TV in front of you, there are other objects, there is a table, there is a chair, there is a mug. They all have different shapes. Now you think of any other thing that can be of so much use. You may not find anything particular that will be suitable for all the cases. Like you can make a wooden chair, you can make a wooden pen, you cannot make a wooden TV, right? There is a certain limit to the usability of a substance, but plastic has no such limit. It can basically be used to make different objects with different properties. Let us see how. It also can be recycled, reused, colored. Basically, recycled means that once you have used it, it can be recycled to form another product which can be of a different use. Then reused. For example, you have a certain substance which has been used for once, but if you clean it or you do something else so that it can be reused. So plastic is one of those substances which can be reused, right? Because it does not get damaged very easily. Then it can be colored. You have seen all the objects, you have different containers, you have different bowls which you put into microwave ovens. They are of different colors, like green, blue, white, yellow, different colors. So this is another advantage of plastic, that it can be colored. So it can be used at many places where colors are required for representation, right? Then melted, it can easily be melted. It can be rolled into sheets. So these are some features of plastics that make it more useful to us. Now another is that polythene. You use poly bags in your daily life. Those poly bags are basically polyethylene. Polyethylene means that there are ethene molecules linked in a chain or in a cross linkage structure, right? This is the polyethylene polymer. There are a number of ethene molecules present in a linear arrangement or in a cross-linked arrangement. This is an example of plastic used for making polythene bags, right? Then some plastic articles can bend easily. while some break when forced to bend. There are two kinds of plastics. One is the kind which can be easily bent. It can change its shape, right? But there is another kind of plastic which breaks when we try to bend it. These are the two kinds of plastics. Now, how do we define them? What is the major difference? Why does this happen? What is the difference in their properties that results in a bending plastic and in a non-bending plastic? Let us see types of plastics. The first one is thermoplastics. Let us see what this is. Plastic which gets deformed easily on heating and can be bent easily are known as thermoplastics. What are the two properties? First one, easily deformed on heating. When we heat it, easily deformed on heating. Basically, the plastic gets melted, it gets easily deformed when it is heated, and the second property is that it can be bent easily. These are the two properties, right students? Now these are known as thermoplastics. This is the first kind. Examples are polyethylene and PVC. You can try heating a polyethylene, it will get deformed very easily. It will lose its shape and all its properties. And polythene can be bent very easily as well. You must have seen that a lot many times. Now it is used for manufacturing toys, combs and various types of containers. These plastics are only used where they have no contact with heat, and also we need the use of their bending capability as well, right? So they are used in toys. Obviously we are not going to heat any toy, and toys and children play with toys, so they must be made from such a plastic which can be bent easily and does not break, right? Now combs and various types of containers. These are first kind of plastics. There is a picture showing you that this is a thermoplastic container, and this is an electric wire which is covered. There is a layer of plastic on the wire which is made up of thermoplastic, right? So this is the first kind of plastic. Now moving on to the second kind of plastic. Plastics which when molded once cannot be softened by heating are called thermosetting plastics. It is basically, it means that once this plastic has been molded, once it has been made into a shape, it cannot be softened by heating or any other procedure. So these are known as thermosetting plastics. They set themselves, hence they are known as thermosetting. They do not change. So examples are bakelite and melamine. These are two very important examples. They can easily be asked in the exams as well. Two kinds of thermosetting plastics, they are bakelite and melamine. What is the major property? That once this kind of plastic is molded, it cannot be bent or it cannot change its shape once it has been molded, and we cannot change its shape by heating as well. Now students, what is bakelite? Bakelite is a poor conductor of heat and electricity. This is the major advantage obviously, because we need plastics to cover electrical equipments as well. We have plugs, we have wire coverings, right? All of these are made up of some kind of plastic. So it can only be made with the help of a plastic which is a poor conductor of heat and electricity. Only when they are a poor conductor of heat and electricity, they can be used for electrical wires and such equipments, right? Now they are used for making electrical switches, handles of various utensils, because when we heat a utensil on a gas stove, the container which is made up of a metal gets heated, right? So metals are a good conductor of heat, but in case we have to hold that metal, how are we going to hold that hot pan which is being heated on the gas stove? For that we need a handle which is not made up of metal. Instead it is made up of something which is not a good conductor of heat. We have wood also as an example, but other than wood, when we talk about plastics, there is bakelite which is used to make the handles of the pan, with the help of which we can pick up the pan easily. We can touch the pan, right? Now, melamine, the second kind of plastic, thermosetting plastic. Melamine is a versatile material. It resists fire and can tolerate heat better than other plastics. What is the major use? That it resists fire. It does not catch fire, and it is again a poor conductor of heat. So it can tolerate heat better than other plastics. Used for making floor tiles, kitchenware and fabrics which resist fire. Now there are fabrics which resist fire which are used by firemen as well, right? So there is a coating of melamine on their clothes so that it does not catch fire. Kitchenware, obviously, because we use kitchenware to heat food. So the substance should be a poor conductor of heat so that it helps in cooking, right, students? So these were the two kinds of plastic, students. Now, what did we discuss in this lecture? We have discussed about the introduction of plastic. What are plastics? What kind of structure do they have? What are the features of plastics? And what are the two kinds of plastics that we have? Now you know about plastics. You know a little bit about what kinds of plastics there are and what are their uses, and basically what are the features of plastics that make them so useful that we have every substance made up of plastic nowadays, right? We have a plastic alternative for every object that you use, right, students? So why is plastic a material of choice? Let us see. First point, it is used for storing a food item, water, milk, pickles, dry food, plastic, etc. So basically all these substances can be put into a plastic container. Why is that so? Because it does not react. Whatever you put inside a plastic can, it won't react with the plastic. It won't destroy the container, and the plastic will also not destroy the substance present inside it. Because it does not react, it is very, very capable of keeping substances in itself. The containers that you have are made up of plastic and you put food in them. You also cook food in microwave ovens, right? And those bowls are made up of plastic. So it is only because they are not reactive towards the substance present inside them. Another use, that they are lightweight. Plastics are very lightweight. You pick up a chair of, say, iron, and you pick up a chair of plastic. You will notice that you cannot pick a chair of iron very easily, but the plastic chair can be held with one hand itself, right? You do not even need the second hand to pick the plastic chair. So it is lightweight. It is of lower price. It is cheaper to produce plastic. It is very difficult to extract metals and other substances to make our articles, but plastics are of lower price and are easily available as well, because they can be produced, they can be manufactured by, they are man-made articles, so they are very easily manufactured. Now students, they also have good strength. Plastic articles that you use have very good strength. They have this strength due to the cross-linked arrangement and good bonding present inside them. So hence we can say that they have good strength, so they can be put to many different uses because of their strength only. And they are easily handled. They can be handled easily. They are not that harmful. Some of the plastics are molded and can be bent easily, so they are not very, very difficult to handle. Now, they are lighter as compared to metals. Obviously, I just gave you an example. You have an iron chair and you have a plastic chair. Which one will be easier to pick up? Obviously, the plastic chair, because iron is a very dense metal and it has a good weight inside it. So, to pick up the plastic chair will be very easy for you. So, lighter as compared to metals. Now, they are used in cars, aircrafts and spacecrafts because of their lightweightedness. Now students, sometimes you must have heard that we have different missiles going into space, right? Different satellites going into space. Now if we use if we make up that satellite entirely with the help of metal, it will not be possible for us to launch it, because it will become very, very heavy. So to make it lightweighted, we use plastic instead of metals. So plastic has a very good use in aircrafts and cars to make them lightweighted, right? And because they have good strength, so it is no loss of the strength. It gives us good strength and it gives us lightweight objects as well, right? Now articles like slippers, furniture, decoration pieces, we have numerous uses of plastics because of these qualities, which are that it is lightweight, it is cheaper, it has good strength, it is easily handled, and it is lighter as compared to metals. So these are the advantages which make plastics as a material of choice. We are using plastics as our choice because there are certain advantages linked to this plastic which help us in our, they assist us basically in our households and different works around us, right? Now students, plastic, the first property that is very useful is that plastic is non-reactive. Let us see. Metals like iron get rusted when left exposed to moisture and air. You will be studying in higher classes that iron undergoes corrosion and develops rust on its surface. Rust is basically red brown powder which is seen on the iron articles when exposed to air and water for a longer time. So iron is not that sustainable because it gets eaten up by the environment only. It reacts with the air. Basically iron articles react with the oxygen present in the air and the moisture present in the air to produce rust. So the upper layer of metal is completely eaten up due to this reaction. Hence, it is not that useful for us to use iron when we have another choice. Plastics do not react with air and water. If you keep a plastic article in air for how much long you want to, it won't get destroyed, it won't get rusted, it won't get ruptured even. It will stay as it is, right? So plastic is non-reactive, which makes it more useful. Now they are not corroded easily, obviously they are not reacting, so they are not corroded easily, they do not get corroded. Then they are used to store various kinds of materials including many chemicals. Due to this property, this is the application basically. This last point is its application, that due to this property, they are used to store various kinds of materials including many chemicals. Right students? In this picture you can see there are containers containing fruits, veggies. Now plastics are used as containers because they do not react. Had there been another metal, that metal would have reacted with the substance present inside the container and would have destroyed our food. So plastic is non-reactive, and this is the first advantage which makes the plastic as a substance of choice. Second point, plastic is light, strong and durable. This is very, very important. This is the main use. This is why we are using plastics nowadays, because plastic is very, very light, strong, durable and can be molded into different shapes and sizes. You can see this is a plastic chair. These kinds of chairs are being used in schools, at home, for children as well as for different purposes. So this plastic chair is light, is very strong, no matter what you put on it, it won't break, and durable, right? These do not get ruptured for at least 2 to 3 years, they stay the same. This is because they are very, very durable, they have good strength, they are very, very light, right students? Now plastics are generally cheaper than metals. Another point, that they are economical, they do not use as much as resources as we need to acquire, as we need to obtain metals from our earth. Now plastics are generally cheaper because their manufacture is very, very simple and it is man-made. Now they are widely used for industry and for household articles. Obviously in industry we have different equipments, right? Different installations which require plastics in them. To make them lightweight, to make them durable, to make them non-reactive, we need plastics in industries as well as in households, as we saw, bucket, mug, pen, table, chair. Obviously because they have so many uses, plastics can be used at our homes, right students? The third point, that plastics are poor conductors. This is another very, very important use to us. You can see there is a picture number 1 in front of you. This is a copper wire, right? Copper is used to transfer electricity from one point to another with the help of wires. These are copper wires and they are conductors. Basically copper is a very good conductor of electricity. Second to silver, copper is very good conductor of electricity. Now it has a covering on it. This wire has a covering. This covering is basically plastic. Why is it plastic? Because plastics are poor conductors of heat and electricity both. Because it is a poor conductor of electricity, it won't be conducting any electricity, so you can touch the wire from outside very easily, right? It helps us in handling these wires easily because we can touch the wires, because plastic is a poor conductor of electricity. Now in the case of heat, when you have pans, as I told you that the handles of pans are made up of plastics only. There are screwdrivers which are used for testing electricity. Their handles are made up of plastics so that we can hold the screwdrivers easily, right? So electric wires have plastic covering and handles of screwdrivers are made of plastic so that we do not catch shocks, we do not catch the current. Then handles of frying pans are made up of plastic because they are the poor conductors of heat as well. So these are two uses. There is a picture number 2 in front of you. What does this picture show? That this is very hot water as shown in the figure. This is very hot water, and this spoon 1 is metal spoon and spoon 2 is plastic spoon. So what do you see? That after a while it will be difficult to hold the spoon 1. You cannot hold the spoon 1 after some time because the spoon will get hot here as well. It conducts heat and it will get hot completely. While this will be easier to pick because it will not conduct any heat, so we can hold that plastic spoon for a longer time because it won't be conducting that heat from the water, because it is a poor conductor. It will obviously turn hot, but not that much as this metal article, metal spoon, right students? So plastics are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Now let us look at some important uses of plastics, right? In the healthcare industry, first of all, we are talking about healthcare industry. Packaging of tablets. You have different kinds of medicines for fever, for cold, right? These tablets come in certain form. That arrangement is made up of plastics. That tablet, basically, that rag that you get of tablets is made up of plastic. That covering is made up of plastic. Threads used for stitching wounds. There are different wounds that doctors stitch because they are very deep. So to cure them, to heal them, we use stitches. We stitch the wound up. So that those stitches are made up of plastics only, right? Then syringes, as you can see in this picture as well, syringes are made up of plastics. Doctors' gloves and a number of medical instruments are made up of plastics only. These are very important to us. All these substances that you just saw are very important to us. Hence, plastic has a good use in healthcare industry. Special plastic cookware is used in microwave ovens for cooking food. You can look at these containers. These are used for microwave ovens to cook food, right? The heat cooks the food but does not affect the plastic vessel. What does this tell you? That you have put this in a microwave oven. There are radiations which are supplying heat to the food, but not the plastic container is not conducting any heat. It does not turn hot, while the food inside it gets hot. This is because these are poor conductors of heat, right students? So what is the use of these containers? That they are poor conductors of heat, so they can be used to heat food in microwave ovens and they do not turn hot themselves, right? Next, you must have heard about Teflon. Now Teflon is a special plastic, students, on which oil and water do not stick. You can see this is a pan which has Teflon covering on it, Teflon layer. This is because Teflon helps us in making non-stick cooking articles such as pans or different kinds of other instruments. We use Teflon on which oil and water do not stick. They stay on the surface but they do not stick to it, so that the pan remains clean, right? Now students, it is used for non-stick coating on cookwares. As I told you, Teflon is used for coating this pan, right? So these were some important uses of plastics. Another use is fireproof plastics. I told you earlier as well that there are clothes which do not catch fire. This is only because they have a coating of melamine on them, which is a thermosetting plastic, as we talked. So although synthetic fiber catches fire easily, synthetic fibers catch fire very easily, but uniforms of firemen have a coating of melamine plastic to make them flame resistant. Basically melamine is a very poor conductor of heat and it resists fire. That is why we use it to provide a layer on the clothes of firemen, which are made up of synthetic fiber. These layers provide fire resistance to these clothes and hence can be used by people of fire brigade to for their job. So this is a picture in which you can see there is a uniform. Here we have melamine coating on the clothes, right students? This is another very important use of plastic. So we discussed about different kinds of properties of plastics which make them usable for different kinds of purposes, right? It is non-reactive, it is cheaper, it is lighter, it is durable, it is strong. So, and also all the other uses that we talked about, plastic is very, very useful to us. So, in this lecture, we discussed the uses of plastics and the environment. In this chapter, we talked a lot about synthetic fibers and plastics and their marvelous uses. We have thousands of articles around us which are made up of fibers or plastics. Now, how are plastics damaging basically our environment? What are their ill effects that we are going to talk about in this lecture? You must understand that plastic is not good for our environment. It is very, very deteriorating. It is not good at all. So, let us see how. A material, first of all, you have to understand the difference between biodegradable and non-biodegradable, right? So, let us discuss what is biodegradable. A material which gets decomposed through natural processes such as action by bacteria is called biodegradable. You have a picture in front of you. Here you can see veggies, you have fruits, right? They are present on the ground. After some time you will notice that they have been degraded by the nature itself. They get degraded by the nature, by the action of air, by the action of bacteria. So, this kind of waste is good for our earth because it gets disposed easily. It does not cause any harm to the environment. They settle in the soil and do not cause any harm at all, right? So, a material which gets decomposed through natural processes such as action by bacteria is called biodegradable, right? Now, students, what is non-biodegradable? A material which is not easily decomposed by natural processes is termed as non-biodegradable. There is a picture in front of you. There are thousands of plastic bottles lying on the water surface. Why is this happening? Why are they not getting decomposed? Because they are non-biodegradable. They cannot be decomposed by nature. They are not harmed by air, water or any other bacteria. So, this kind of a substance which is not easily decomposed by natural processes is termed as non-biodegradable, and unfortunately plastic is non-biodegradable. This is the ill effect of plastic. This is the disadvantage of plastic, that it is non-biodegradable, which means that we keep on producing plastic and there is no end to it. You cannot dispose it off. For example, you bought 10 poly bags and then you dumped your substances in those poly bags. Now you have those poly bags in your dustbins. That poly bag will be recycled again. Basically, there is no end to that poly bag. It will not get decomposed. It can only be burnt. But on burning also, it is not easily burnt and produces poisonous gases which harm our atmosphere, which cause major pollution. So, there is no good solution to dispose plastic off. Once you have made a plastic article, it is not going to end by any method. You are not supposed to burn it, otherwise, by other ways, it is never going to dispose. So, this is one very big disadvantage of plastic, that it is non-biodegradable. Now, students, let us look at this table and learn something. Here we have types of wastes, then we have approximate time taken to degenerate, and then the nature of material. The first point is peels of vegetable, fruits, leftover food stuff. Basically, these are our household waste, which are vegetables, fruits and leftover food stuff. They take 1 to 2 weeks to degenerate completely. So, they are biodegradable. Now, students, we have paper. Paper gets degenerated into 10 to 30 days. In 10 to 30 days, the paper will be degenerated. Hence, it is also biodegradable. Then cotton cloth. Cotton cloth takes 2 to 5 months. So, it is also biodegradable. Then wood. Wood takes 10 to 15 years, right? It is biodegradable again. Then woolen clothes. They take about a year. So, they are also biodegradable. Now comes metals and plastic bags. Tin, aluminium and other metal cans. They take about 100 to 500 years to get decomposed. Hence, they are non-biodegradable because it takes about at least 4 to 5 lifetimes of a person, which is equal to 100 to 500 years. Hence, it is non-biodegradable. It is a very long period of 100 to 500 years. We are producing them at a very fast pace on this space we'll be collecting all these substances somewhere because they cannot be disposed. Then plastic bags. They take several years. We don't even know. We don't know how much time a plastic bag takes because till now we have not discovered any biodegradable kind of plastic. So they are obviously non-biodegradable. They have taken hundreds of years, but they are not getting decomposed. Now let us see the damage caused by plastics. Students, plastic takes several years to decompose. Not environment friendly. It takes several years to decompose. We are not even sure how many years. And it is not environment friendly. It is not environment friendly at all. It causes environment pollution. There is a picture in front of you and the person holding the poster which is saying that litters the landscape. Basically, we are littering our landscape. We are filling our landscape with litter, right? So, all these substances that you can see, they are poly bags, they are plastic bottles, they are plastic bags, right? So, all these articles are non-biodegradable. They are not environment friendly. We are basically littering our landscape. Now, students, burning process in the synthetic material is quite slow. It does not get burnt completely and releases lots of poisonous fumes causing air pollution. So these are the damages caused by plastics. First of all, they are non-biodegradable. Secondly, the burning process produces dangerous fumes causing air pollution. So plastics are very, very harmful to our environment, students. We are not supposed to use plastics, but because of their uses, there are so many properties which make them useful. We are going on using them, right? So at least we should think that whatever we buy should be long term. So for example, we have a chair of plastic. It is not going to harm the environment. It is going to stay as such. So we should, if we buy a plastic article, we should use it for life. We should never dispose it off because it is going to add on to the waste of our earth, right? Now students, another disadvantage, that it kills animals by entering into their digestive systems. Nowadays, when animals die on roadside, when doctors check them, it is found that they have lots of plastic bags in their stomachs, which ultimately is leading to their deaths. So it kills animals by entering into their digestive systems. This is one major disadvantage because animals do not know what to eat. So we have to control our disposal of plastics. We must use plastics only when we can keep them inside our houses. Then they clog drains. Basically, when sometimes plastics enter our drains, it is very difficult to make the drain work properly because they clog the drains. And another difficult process is to remove those clogs. Obviously, it is very, very difficult to clean drains. Hence, it is another disadvantage. Then now people throw plastics in public places. This is a very big issue that people are not aware of the damage that is caused by plastics to our environment. So people basically throw their plastic wastes in the public places, not in dustbins. So this is not good for our environment, students. So basically, plastic is damaging our surroundings, right? Students, now we know that plastics are very, very harmful for our environment. We have seen how they cause damages, right? So now we must know that how are we going to control the damages caused by plastic. First of all, let's start. Avoid the use of plastics as far as possible. We just talked that we use plastics for every article nowadays, for our table, chair, containers, pens, pencils. We have to stop that. We have to avoid the use of plastics as far as possible because we are creating more and more plastic and we are just generating more and more waste because we cannot dispose it off. So we have to avoid the use of plastics as far as possible. We also have to make use of bags made of cotton. For example, you are going grocery shopping. You must carry a bag with you. It may be a cotton bag or a jute bag. It should not be a poly bag. It may be a paper bag as well. But it should not be a poly bag because it is a plastic. Now students, the biodegradable and non-biodegradable wastes should be collected separately and disposed of separately. This has been done in many modern cities as well, that there are 2 dustbins at every place. One for the biodegradable waste and another for the non-biodegradable waste. The biodegradable waste can be fruits, vegetables, vegetable peel-offs, right? While the non-biodegradable waste is the plastics and the synthetic fibers which are not biodegradable. So, they should be collected separately and should be disposed of separately as well, so that we can recycle the non-biodegradable waste easily. It should not be a difficult process to separate the biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste at first. Now, most of the thermoplastics can be recycled. Most of the thermoplastics, we got to know what thermoplastics are, which can be molded easily, right? These can be recycled. Make a list of items that can be recycled. Just think of something in your mind such as combs or any other containers. They can be recycled easily, right? Now, what happens during recycling is, during recycling, certain coloring agents are added. There are different coloring agents which are added. So, this limits its usage, especially for storage of food. When we add coloring agents to the containers that we make after the recycling, it cannot be used for food keeping purposes, because obviously we have added coloring agents. So, they are very harmful to us. So, we are not going to use the recycled plastics for our storage of food, right? Now, another thing that we have to learn is the 5R principle. What are the 5 R's? The first one is reduce. First of all, we have to reduce the usage of plastic. Then reuse. Second R. First one is reduce. Second one is reuse, which means that once you have bought a plastic article, you must use it again and again. Instead of buying a new article, use the same article more and more times. Then recycles. Once you are done with the substance, once you are done with the article, you must recycle it so that it does not cause any harm to our environment. It remains into the using work of the people. Then recover. And then refuse. Refuse means that we are totally refusing the use of plastics. Now, students, these are the 5 R's that we have to take care of, right? Develop habits which are environment friendly. All these 5 R's will be helping you to develop good habits so that you do not cause any harm to the environment. First of all, the main thing that you can do is reducing the usage of plastics. Basically, avoid plastics wherever you can. Then do not throw plastic bags in the water bodies or on the road. You should not dispose them off in public places or in water bodies, because it causes harm to our nature. Animals end up eating them and they are dying due to that, right? So, we have to take care of our surroundings. So, we should not throw plastic bags in water bodies or on the road as well. Now, take a cotton carry bag or a jute bag while going for shopping. As I told you, for grocery shopping, you must have a cotton or jute bag. Then try to minimize the use of plastic materials. Examples, use a steel lunch box instead of a plastic one, right? So, these are some ways with which we can help to control the damage caused by plastics. We basically have to control plastics as such. We should not use plastics anymore, because we are all aware of the damage caused by plastics to our environment. It is not very far away when we will be regretting the day when plastics were discovered. We should stop usage of plastics so that we get used to the fact that plastics are not available for us. Plastics are causing damage to the earth. So, we should control the usage of plastics itself.